but it was a vehicle that no one really copied it, no one really thought it was worth emulating in any particular way. Or some were used and some were made after the war for forestry work because they'd fit between stands of trees quite nicely and could drag a log or two away. But now it's one of these vehicles becoming enormously popular and collectible.
It's actually powered by an Opel four-cylinder car engine. It's really, the front half is almost a motorcycle, the rear half is a half-track vehicle. It's an odd combination at the best of times. And very, very specialised. I think that's the big problem. They've invested a tremendous amount of money in these things, and it wasn't really worth it. A lot of that work that vehicle you can do just as easily with a Jeep. But as you can see, it takes 3 people. You've got a driver at the front, and then 2 others sitting in the back facing the other way. And that's because it was usually used to tow a trailer or a light airborne gun. But when they abandoned using paratroopers for jumping out of aeroplanes, which they tended to do after the rather awkward business of Crete, you found that they were being used by all sorts of people, and not always to the best of their advantage. They're beautifully made, but whether it was really worth it is a questionable matter.
Now, following behind our Kettenkrad, you can see our Panzer III coming on. This was a vehicle, again, captured in North Africa. We know a fair bit about this Panzer III. It was taken to the UK, evaluated, lots of reports written on it, and some years ago the guys in the workshops had a refurb on it. It was always kept in running order. You may see some photographs in older books. Sometimes it was painted, as sadly some of our vehicles still are actually, in rather erroneous colours, but this has now been put back to the colour scheme it was when it was in service in North Africa. It's what they call a Tropen vehicle. TP was stamped on the manufacturing plate, and that meant it had been adapted specifically for use in North Africa in dusty conditions. They changed the air filters on the back. Good example of the Panzer III of German tank design. They went through many years of trying to get their tank design right after Hitler came to power in '33. And the Panzer III, Panzer IV were the tanks that they aimed to go to war with. Panzer I, Panzer II were really the German training tanks. Panzer III starts the war with a low velocity 30mm gun. This particular model, the L, has got a much more powerful, higher velocity 50mm gun. Again, beautifully engineered, it's very finely made, very quiet engine. If I stop waffling for a moment, you probably hear how quiet it is. And this particular vehicle has some battle damage on it still, and is in a remarkably original condition.
Well, if you could hear it, it's got a Maybach V12 engine. In fact, I should stress, by the way, that all German tanks, almost all German tanks anyway, had petrol engines. They didn't have diesels. And the Maybach V12 in the back of the Panzer III is a petrol engine. Again, like most American tanks, it drives to a front-mounted gearbox to a front drive sprocket and has torsion bar suspension running all the way along. That's quite typical of the Germans. It's all the welded construction, usually with side doors in the turret, which were regarded as a weak spot, really, if you could hear one at all. But it's those characteristics that make it outstanding. Make the German sort of things quite remarkable in that sense.
One of the reports we have in the archive that the School of Tank Technology, when they looked at the Panzer III, they admired the crew layout. Commander's in his own cupola at the rear of the turret there, but in battle, in the stress of battle, they admired the fact that the commander was in eye line with both the gunner and the loader, and he could almost see through to the driver and the co-driver's position, or the bow machine gunner's position. And this was a point that was picked up on, that they thought that central position was very important, because just sometimes in the heat of battle, a good look, a word, whatever from the commander could reassure a crew And in the post-war era, when the British Army designed the Conqueror tank, one of the criticisms that came from the crews was the commander with his own completely separate, almost mini turret at the back of the vehicle. Now, we must